So be it, Jedi.
What's going on, guys? Back in another video. As Hot Toys collectors, we stay in this hobby to experience the best premium versions of characters we love from several IPs. And for the most part, it's pretty rewarding. I'm happy, I enjoy it, I'm sure you do too. But there are some downsides. So in this video, I'm going to point out some of the negatives I've sort of noticed in the hobby, more so pertaining to the figures themselves as opposed to the community. We'll start this video off with something I think we're all pretty familiar with. Before you assume, I'm not going to talk about price. I know these figures are expensive, and I know wait times suck. So I'm going to avoid the obvious and start with something that I think we could all agree on. And that is, Hot Toys needs to stop using cheap materials for figures. Biggest culprit, pleather. Figures that you pay hundreds of dollars for should not have an expiration date. Now I know at this point in time we have 3 figures on the market, at least when it comes to Star Wars, that are going to be rolling out the new nylon suit. Looking forward to how that plays out. As of now, we don't know. Hopefully, it's a change for the better. But there is absolutely no reason why other components such as tabards on Jedi figures, boots, any other component that is made of pleather could not be made of genuine leather. Now, I think I speak for a lot of us when I say that we would rather pay a little bit more money for premium materials. Don't know why they do it. Part of me thinks it's sort of by design. If we give you a figure that's got a shelf life, when the next one rolls out, you'll be more opted to purchase it. I don't want to think that way, but I think for the most part, they probably just do it to cut costs. But as I said, I'd rather pay a little bit more money for genuine leather and high quality materials. This could also be applied to other figures. Now, I personally don't have any experience with anything outside of Star Wars figures, but Riley Reviews, shout out to him, just did a video talking about leaving Spider-Man figures in a pose for a long period of time. If you haven't seen that, check that video out. The figure looks pretty bad, and there's absolutely no excuse that Hot Toys can't figure out a way to make that work. We shouldn't have to leave our Spider-Man and other figures with that sort of rubbery suit material in static poses for risk of damaging it long term. Going to our next downside, as you want to call it, and that is not releasing entire lines / teams. Now, I know sometimes there may be actor likeness hang-ups. Some actors and actresses may not want to give their likeness. So it's not always, cut and dry in terms of, well, why didn't you make this figure? But I'm going to give you some examples here that absolutely make no sense as to why these figures don't exist. Example number 1. A few years ago, I'm not sure as to when, probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point, we were given Qui-Gon Jinn from The Phantom Menace. You know what figure we don't have? Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now keep in mind, it's 2024 and 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace. We still don't have a Padawan Kenobi. If and when that figure gets announced, if you have the Qui-Gon Jinn, it's an older figure. It doesn't have the rolling eyes. The sculpt is serviceable by all means, but it's not perfect. So if and when we ever get a Padawan Kenobi and you pair it with that Qui-Gon Jinn, you're going to see that Qui-Gon Jinn is dated. And that goes back to my point of, if they can't release figures that go together at the same point in time, then at some point, if those figures ever get made, there's going to be some discrepancies when they're put together. Another example, this year, Padme and Anakin Skywalker from Attack of the Clones were released, but we still don't have Episode 2 Obi-Wan. If and when they ever make that figure, it's going to be a year and a half, 2 years, if they release it now, before you can put it with those other figures. Now, I know this isn't the only example. There's many others, but this is what applies to me. They can't give us another Obi-Wan, but they can sure reuse the head sculpt on Mandalorian Obi-Wan. It kind of grinds your gears, and I think we can all agree that if you have access to a actor's likeness that you're using currently and have used multiple times, what's the hang-up? I think at this point in time, we only have one Phantom Menace figure, and that's Darth Maul. Oh, sorry. We got a Darth Maul Nightlight as well. We're in the 4th quarter of 2024, and we still don't have a Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi announced. Just seems kind of weird to me. Another prime example, the Rogue One line. Now this line is highly coveted and highly regarded as a grail line. All the figures are pretty good. Both the Jyn Ersos, Director Krennic, these are a lot of times chase figures for collectors. But you know what figure we don't have that is very pertinent and important to that line? Cassian Andor. Now we all know Diego Luna is pretty passionate about his character in Rogue One and Andor and the up and coming Andor season 2. So you'd think he'd be pretty inclined to give his likeness away for a 1/6 scale figure. It just seems odd if you ask me. And as I said, I know this isn't applicable to only Star Wars. There's several other characters and figures and other lines that have never been completed. But as it stands with me, this is what I'm more comfortable with and what I'm more related to. Moving on to our final topic and what I think is sort of the biggest, but it also may be the most personal and only applicable to me. But that is comparing yourself as a collector to other collectors. Now, we all have different lives. We all have different responsibilities, different incomes. We're all different. And when you see collectors who have tons and tons of figures that you would like to have, or figures that you would have if you had the space or the funds, while it's nice to see those things, and of course I think we all enjoy room tours, collection tours, whatever, deep down, at least for me, I sort of feel envious. Now, I know I only collect Star Wars, and I know I've only been doing this for about a year, but in a perfect world, I think we can all agree that we would have a lot more than what we have now. Now, I'm not saying don't be grateful for what you have. I'm forever grateful and blessed to be able to be in this hobby and to collect these high quality premium figures. But on the same vein, I do envy those that can have rooms full of cases and every figure they could dream of. And I think I speak for all of us when I say that most of us can't really swing that. We have to prioritize figures that we really love and really need. Now, I know there's definitely a difference between want and need, but this is something you sort of have to be conscious of, is to not let yourself get down by that. Because as I said, we all have different lives and different responsibilities, and we all can't collect the same way. So that's definitely something to be mindful of. That pretty much wraps it up. Those are the 3 biggest topics that come to mind when I think about the negative and the downside to Hot Toys collecting. Yours may be different. If you got another one, drop it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you took something away from this video, and I hope you liked it enough to stick around for the next one. Tune in next week. We're going to be talking about these crazy announcements so far this year and how it may make us feel as collectors, which leaves me with the question, is too much of a good thing a bad thing? Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope I see you on the next one.